Hi, friends. My name is Toni Cureton. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Life Skills FYI. Life Skills FYI provides a set of core adult capabilities to manage work, family, and relationships successfully. It's designed to help build the skills adults need for life. Life Skills FYI teaches skills of planning, awareness, focus, self-control, and flexibility. They are daily living skills to promote successful, independent living, skills that every adult should know but were never taught in school. Life Skills FYI premieres on Thursdays at 10 a.m. on our My Virtual Academy Facebook page. Today, we are going to talk about some good tips that you can use if you have decided to purchase a used car. So, buying a car can be exciting, but it's a big process and there's a lot to consider, especially if you're buying a used car. Planning ahead can help make the process easier as well as help to ensure that you end up with the best car for you and your budget. Your goal should be to purchase years of low-cost, trouble-free service from a vehicle that meets your budget, your needs, as well as your lifestyle. Today, I'd like to share some important tips for you to keep in mind as you start your used car shopping process. So, before you spend a day crisscrossing around town, it's a good idea to check out a car's vehicle history report. These are provided by companies such as Carfax and AutoCheck. A vehicle history report has a wealth of information. It contains information on the car's title, whether or not there is an accident history or the ownership history, as well as the maintenance history. If it raises red flags once you pull this car report, you then don't have to spend your time driving around going to car lot after car lot. You can just view the report, make your decision, and if it's not what you want, you can just move to the next one. But if you are interested in the vehicle, the information will help you ask the right questions and give you information that you can use when it's time to negotiate the price of your vehicle. So, here are some questions that you can ask when you're going to purchase your used vehicle. Whether you go to a dealership to get your used car or you buy from a private seller. These are good questions that you should ask. You should ask them if there is a clear title on the vehicle, meaning there are no liens on it. They are the sole owner of the vehicle and they're selling it to you. You should also ask that if the vehicle was used for business use or was it used for private personal use. You should also ask whether or not the car was parked in a garage overnight or on the street. You may ask, well, what difference does that make? Well, it makes a lot of difference because the more your vehicle is exposed to outside elements, rain, sun, snow, the more your vehicle is exposed to outside elements, the more wear and tear the vehicle, acquires. You should also ask them why they're selling the car. Was it a problematic car? Did they have issues with it? Did they constantly have to have it at the repair shop? You should also ask if the car has ever been recalled by the manufacturer. Ask them when was the last time they changed the brakes as well as replace the tires. Ask them if the vehicle has gone under any major repairs. The engine blew, or the transmission, or they needed a timing chain and belt. You can ask all of these questions and get this information, which will help you determine whether or not you want to proceed forward and purchase this vehicle. You can also ask them if the car or the vehicle was in any serious accidents. Minor fender benders are not really relevant, but serious accidents you need to know about, because it may affect how well your vehicle performs. And you can also ask them, a good question to ask is, how many owners has this vehicle had? Are you the first and only owner, or did you buy it from someone previously? After you've pulled your vehicle car history, your next step is to test drive this vehicle. Test driving a used car is the best way to know if it's the right make and model for you. It's also a good way to assess the car's condition. So tune out any distractions and focus on listening to how the car sounds when you start it, as well as when you drive it, and how it sounds when you turn the vehicle off. And pay close attention to how the car feels when you drive it, when you turn corners, when you accelerate, when you release acceleration, and when you stop, because you want to make sure your brakes are fine. After you test drive your car, you need to get your car inspected. Having a mechanic to inspect the vehicle before you buy it is the only real way to determine if the vehicle is structurally or mechanically sound and worth the investment. Purchasing a pre-purchase inspection will run you between $100 to $200, and purchasing that pre-purchase inspection from a mechanic will alert you to any possible problems that that vehicle may have that you may not find or see for yourself. It's $100 to $200, but it's worth it. The peace of mind, as well as saving you headache and tons of repair bill money. If you don't have a mechanic, bring a friend, and not just your bestie to hang out. Bring someone who is going to pay attention and focus and look at the vehicle like you are. 2 sets of eyes are better than one when you're looking at a used car. Your friend may hear or see something that you overlooked, or they might come up with a question that you didn't consider to ask the seller of the vehicle. Here are some things you should check for when you're purchasing a used car and you don't have the ability to have a mechanic with you. First thing you should look at is the mileage. When you buy a used car, you need to inspect the odometer to see how many miles the vehicle has been driven. High mileage cars are more likely to have underlying problems that require fixing than low mileage cars, especially if it's an older model vehicle. This could mean future repairs, and it will equal to costly expenses. So remember, consider a used car's mileage relative to its price, and don't overpay for a high mileage car. Next, check the check engine lights. If you are test driving and inspecting a vehicle and you turn it on and you see a check engine light coming on, that's a red flag. If A check engine light that's being displayed on the dashboard flashes in short intervals. Usually that means it's a severe problem and something needs to be checked out. But if when you turn the vehicle on and the check engine light appears, but it is a solid, steady check engine light, it means that there is a minor problem. You still want to check it out either way it goes, because a check engine light signal is not a good thing. If you see a check engine light signal, you might want to reconsider purchasing this vehicle, because that is a definite indication that there's something wrong with the vehicle. Now, it could be something minor, like a loose gas cap that, simply if you just tighten up the gas cap, the light will go off. But it could be something more expensive as well. So you don't want to buy a vehicle with a check engine light on without finding out specifically what this check engine light means. Next, check your climate control, your air conditioning, and your heating. If there's something wrong with it, that could be very costly for you. So when you go to inspect a vehicle, cut the car on, crank the AC up, crank the heat up. You want to ensure that you aren't left in the summertime hot because there's no air, or freezing in the winter because the climate control system is not working and the heating core is out. These are additional expenses that you don't want to incur. So when you're checking and looking and inspecting your used car, cut those things on, crank them up, and see if they work. You should not be filling room temperature air for the air conditioning or even for the heating. That's a signal that something's wrong and you need to consider walking away from this vehicle. Next, check your tires. Check the tread on the tires. Again, ask them, when was the last time they replaced these tires? Tires can run you anywhere from $50 per tire to $150 or more, especially depending upon the vehicle. If you buy an SUV, then your tires are going to cost a lot more because it's a bigger vehicle, it's a heavier vehicle. So you want to make sure that the tread on the tires when you buy this used car is not low, because if you drive on it, you're risking having a blowout. And then, of course, that's an additional expense that you don't want to incur. So one of the ways you can check the tread on the tire is to take a tread depth tool. You can buy it at any auto parts store, or you can simply take a penny out of your pocket and take that penny head down and drop it between the tread. If the head of Abraham Lincoln disappears, then that means you've got good tread on your tire and you don't have to purchase any new ones right away. But if you see portions of Abraham Lincoln's head, that means there's not a lot of tread left and you're going to have to purchase new tires. Next, check for body damage. You should inspect the car inside and out. Walk completely around the car. If you were looking at photos online that didn't show scratches or dents, you should bring this to the attention of the seller and say, hey, this wasn't in the video or the pictures that I looked at. How come you didn't include this information? You want to make sure that you're not going to have any surprises, because again, dings and dents, they cause rust damage, and that might mean that you have to get a new paint job and body repair. That's costly. So you want to make sure that you go through from top to bottom. I know it's exciting to buy a new vehicle. Everybody loves to buy a new vehicle, but you have to calm yourself and thoroughly go through from bumper to bumper, from the roof to the tires and underneath, to make sure that everything is okay with the vehicle. Because again, once you drive away and you sign the dotted line, that repair now belongs to you, and you don't want that. Next, make sure you check out your headlights and your tail lights. Go in the vehicle again, and from the driver's side, cut the headlights on. And when you buy vehicles in the daytime, sometimes you forget because it's daylight, but take a moment, cut the headlights on, then get out of the car and go and look. Go back around to the back of the vehicle and look at the tail lights. If any of them are out, it could mean that you just simply need to replace it with a halogen bulb, but it could also mean that the whole lighting system could be defective, and you might have to replace that whole unit, and that can be costly. So make sure you check those things out when you're looking at a vehicle to purchase. Next, the suspension of a vehicle is important. When you're test driving, you want to make sure you hold the steering wheel to see if it wobbles or vibrates, because that could be an indication that your wheels are out of alignment, or that your wheels need balancing, or it could be something more serious like your struts or your shocks or your springs. So when you're test driving, make sure you focus and pay attention to how it feels when you drive, because again, those are very costly expenses. You can pay anywhere from $300 to $1,500 or even more, again, because it depends upon the vehicle, if you have to replace any parts of the suspension system on your vehicle. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to what the vehicle feels like when you drive over bumps or when you turn the corners. Is it smooth? Is it quiet? Or are you hearing, grinding noises or anything unusual? You don't want to purchase a vehicle that you're hearing all these things, you're experiencing these things with when you're going to purchase a used vehicle. Next, your engine oil. Pop the hood, pull out the dipstick, and check the oil in the vehicle. Make sure that it has oil, and make sure that it's filled to the levels that it's supposed to be filled to. You don't want to, you want to proceed with caution if you pull that dipstick out and only see it at a low level. It could mean that, they forgot to fill it up, but it could be something else as well, something more serious. It could be an oil leak, and you don't want that. So check, lift that hood, whether you're at a private seller, whether you're at a used car lot or a dealership, pop that hood, pull that dipstick out and check it. Also, check and make sure the color of the oil that's in the vehicle. You don't want oil on the dipstick to be black, dark brown, because that is an indication of contaminants. It's an indication that something is wrong on the serious end of repairs. It could be just, dirty oil, but that means it was neglected and the oil filter and the oil was not changed on a regular basis. When you have dark black, dark brown oil, it could just be something that simple of changing the oil and replacing it and changing the oil filter. But it could also be something more serious, like blown gaskets or overheating. So make sure you pull that dipstick out and make sure that there is plenty of oil in there. And 2, make sure that the color is correct. Because again, dark colored oil is not good. Brand new engine oil is a goldish color. Used good condition engine oil is like an amber or a street light color. When it gets to dark brown and black, then that means you've either got negligence or you've got problems, neither of which you want. Next, check your tailpipes, your exhaust gas. The color of a used car exhaust gas can provide insight into how well the car was maintained. With the car running but in park, walk around to the back of your vehicle and look at the exhaust fumes that are coming out of the tailpipe. If it's transparent, you don't see anything, maybe like a heat wave, then you're good. Car's in good condition with regards to that. But if you're seeing white smoke or black smoke, those are signals that something seriously is wrong and you're going to have a major repair. If you're seeing white smoke, it could be an indication that your cylinder head or your head gasket is blown. If you're seeing black exhaust, it's when your vehicle is burning excessive amounts of fuel and causing your filters to get clogged and dirty, and your fuel injectors and your in your vehicle will start malfunctioning. So those are 2 really good red flags to watch for. White smoke, black smoke, no good. Clear, transparent, you're okay. Next, check out the interior of your vehicle. Never buy a used car without inspecting the interior. It may look really good on the outside, but the interior could be heavily worn and there could be tears and stains and burn marks and smells, and you don't want that. Vehicles can have water damage from leakage or even flood damage, and mold and mildew could be in the vehicle. So make sure you check out the interior, smell the vehicle. You also don't want to purchase the vehicle if you smell, cigarette smoke or smoke. You really don't want that, because those are very hard to get rid of. It's not impossible, but it's a process. You can put air fresheners in your vehicle, but once they die down, the smells come back. So you want to buy a vehicle that doesn't have any odors, and does not have a lot of wear and tear on the vehicle. Because again, if you go to replace your interiors of your vehicle, you could be spending anywhere from $500 to $1,500 or more. Again, depending upon the vehicle that you're trying to purchase. So this is a red flag if you're seeing, major interior damage. Look at the roof and make sure that the headliner of the roof is not ripped or torn or, anything like that. Next, you want to pop that hood again and check your your radiator out. If the radiator on a used vehicle is faulty, you may have trouble keeping the engine temperature in check. The radiator is a critical automotive component that protects the engine from overheating. So you want to make sure your radiator is operating properly. When inspecting the radiator, look for signs of spilled coolant. If you see coolant that is fresh, it will appear as green or blue liquid. If the coolant has dried and evaporated, you'll see white powder along the radiator. In either case, both of those circumstances are a problem for you, and they mean repairs, because you don't want a leaky radiator. It is crucial to having your vehicle run properly. So pay close attention to that. And if you see that, that's a sign to let that vehicle go and go look for a different one, because you don't want to buy a used car to fix it up. You want to buy a used car so that you can drive it. Next, you want to check your transmission fluid. Just like engine oil, you should check the used car's transmission fluid to see if it's low. Transmission fluid is responsible for lubricating your gears and parts of the transmission. If it's low, the previous owner either did not change it according to the manufacturer's recommendations, or the transmission is leaking. To check the transmission fluid level of a used car, just pull the transmission dipstick out, look to see how far the fluid is on the dipstick. Buying a used car can be really, challenging and unnerving. And if you fail to thoroughly inspect it, you may find yourself with expensive repair bills later down the road, and you don't want that. Again, you buy a used car to drive, not to fix. If you use these tips that I've given you, when you buy your used car, it will save you a lot of headaches and a lot of money. So, shopping for your used car, these are your takeaways. If you do it correctly, it's a lot of work, but if you do it correctly, it will be well worth it, because it'll save you a lot of money and heartache, because you're not buying lemons. You're buying good, sturdy, strong cars that are going to be able to perform for you when you need it. Whenever the worst experience and feeling in the world is to get in your car and go to start it and it won't, because something's wrong. You don't want that feeling. You want a stress-free, trouble-free vehicle that is worth all of the money that you paid for. So keep all of these tips in mind when you're considering buying a new vehicle. It will save you so much. Well, friends, that is all my time for today. Thank you again for tuning in to Life Skills FYI. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My number is 586-842-0558. That's 586-842-0558. Again, my name is Toni Cureton. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time on Life Skills FYI. And remember, always to adult responsibly.